Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, you find a way to lose. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Become a member to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. Leave that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. Look, man, Tszyu ready for war against Thurman. Keith Thurman ready for war against Tszyu. But you know, it's not often in boxing where you really have, no kidding, what I would call like a crossroads fight. You get fights where they're like high stakes, but if a fighter loses, often they have some time to rebuild. But when you look at Keith Thurman and Tszyu, they really are at a crossroads. Tszyu, kind of unfortunate. You know, he took some back-to-back defeats, took some damage in those fights. Keith Thurman, bit of a hiatus, being a family man, which is a beautiful thing. But the bottom line is, you look at where we are present day with both of those athletes. We just arrived at a point to where someone's going to have to put up and the other person is going to have to sit down and shut up. Now, I saw somebody saying when Keith Thurman got the third round stoppage of Brock Jarvis, they felt that Brock Jarvis would have beat Joey Spencer, essentially suggesting that Brock Jarvis was a better fighter than Tszyu. As a result, they feel that Keith Thurman would tranquilize Tszyu if they got in the ring. I'll say this. Brock Jarvis had, 22 wins, 20 KOs? But he's local, all right? I think it's rather offensive to suggest that Brock Jarvis is a tougher fight for Keith Thurman than Tszyu. Kind of makes me think about the old Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn beat Pacquiao. And Tszyu put the bings on him, didn't he? So when we start making those comparisons, you know, I just don't know if it's fair to say if a summer showdown between Tszyu and Thurman were to happen, that Thurman is just going to steamroll Tszyu. I don't see it that way. What I do see is a very competitive matchup with two guys who know they've reached a point in their careers that this is a put up or shut up moment. And neither one of them want that. They're both still hungry. I'm sure the contracts have been flying around because Keith Thurman has got quiet. Tszyu has got quiet. And I think we're going to get a very, very good fight this summer between the two. Now, you look at Tszyu, who's 25-2 with 18 knockouts, man, and Keith Thurman, who's 31-1 with 23 knockouts. The fact that they were scheduled to face off before, and Keith Thurman had the injury, look, I think there's a little frustration there for Tszyu because I think he got set up. Keith Thurman was hurt. He had a legit injury. But out of all the fighters they could have given Tszyu, they gave that man the 6'6" cockroach, human cockroach, Sebastian Fundora. You just can't get prepared for that freak show. And Tszyu did a damn good job in that fight. A damn good job. But the bottom line is the WBC and WBO championships unfortunately went to Fundora in a fight that was, you know, something resembling a horror film with all the blood. But anyway, Tszyu bounced back and went there with Murtaza Aliyev, really feeling good about himself, training with his dad, and we all know what happened there. You can't just go into fight with a guy who's 23-0 with 17 knockouts and think you're just going to go in there and put the bings on him and get an easy win. Like, Tim really came out there all gas, no brakes. You know what I'm saying? And was trying to do something that wasn't going to happen. Anyway, he ended up getting stopped in the third round, and it was a pretty violent stoppage. The way he was getting hit and hurt was pretty bad. But to see him come back now, man, I think with the return fight that Tszyu had, I think he answered some questions. He looked fast. He looked sharp. Keith Thurman still had the timing. He had the power, had the lateral movement. But Tszyu looked faster than Thurman. Tszyu looked sharper than Thurman. So if he and Thurman were to fight, I don't know how that fight goes. But I think we should set aside the level of opposition in their return fights. I think we need to really take a look at them. And we're talking about level of opposition, solely look at those two, the individual fighters, to really try to gauge, what direction the fight could go. I'll be honest with you. I think Tim Tszyu could knock out Keith Thurman. I really do. But the problem is Keith Thurman can knock him out too. Tim Tszyu fights for that last name, and he fights for his country. But Keith Thurman fights for something different. You see that Ben Getty? Keith Thurman can't even talk about the guy who trained him as an amateur and early in his pro career without crying. There's something that Ben Getty developed inside a young Keith Thurman that he carries to this day. And that is just heart and refusing to go down, refusing to lose. If he and Tszyu get in there, because Keith Thurman has never been beat the way Tim Tszyu has been beat. But Keith Thurman, I don't think he's a natural 154-pounder either. But it's going to be a very, very interesting fight. And even if that's the next fight for Keith Thurman, I'm not sure if he should be getting in there with Tszyu after coming off a 3-year layoff and fighting a guy named Brock Jarvis. I just don't think after Brock Jarvis you fight Tim Tszyu. I just don't think so. I think you take another warm-up fight, then you fight Tim Tszyu. I just don't think you go from Brock Jarvis to Tim Tszyu. But Keith Thurman could be in one position where it's like, all right, you don't have time on your hands. You got to either get it done now or get the hell up out of boxing, which Keith Thurman seems to be okay with being outside of boxing. You got a beautiful family. Not too worried about fighting, but it seems like he's found his groove, was able to get a second win, and he's giving it a go. So let's see how far he can take it. But I just tell you what, man, if Tim Tszyu has anything to say about it, Keith Thurman ain't going to take it much further than the fight with Brock Jarvis. Anyway, big shots going to be flying in that fight, and I just wonder how long it's going to take before somebody's corner throws that towel in. You know what I'm saying? I just really do. Like, when I think I wonder who could really, who benefits the most out of a fight with Tszyu and Thurman. And let's say Tszyu beats Thurman or Thurman beats Tszyu, right? Who do they fight next? Outside of each other. Who do they fight next at 154? Jermell Charlo if he comes back? I mean, Lubin has a fight coming up, but Virgil Ortiz, probably. Bohachuk, he has a fight penciled in too. I saw that 2 days ago. He's returning to fight somebody. Madrimov, you see what I'm saying? There's still some killers out there. Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman. It doesn't matter who wins the fight. I'm just saying, outside of each other, there's some killers at 154. I don't think if Tszyu beats Thurman, it answers the questions about him going up and fighting those killers. If Thurman beats Tszyu, I don't think it answers any question about Thurman going on to fight those killers. I just think both of them, the only thing they really do is just add their name to the upper echelon of fighters at 154, which arguably right now is the best division in boxing. Anyway, Tszyu's ready for war against Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman saying send the contract. But no matter who wins the fight, let's be real here. How far can Tim Tszyu take this shit up against those killers at 154? But he looked good against somebody who I felt it was a 75-25% chance he wins, and the way he did. So I was spot on. Him against Thurman, I don't think that's 75-25. The first 2 rounds, I think that's like 75-25 for Tszyu. I think Tszyu steps to him. Keith Thurman has IQ. He has experience. He's not going to come out there looking to just blast you out. He's looking to move around, box, get the juices flowing, let you get your confidence up, and then, set traps. Keith Thurman's a smart fighter. But the first 2-3 rounds, I think, is where Tszyu just got to put his foot on the gas. He's got to go after Keith Thurman. If Tszyu allows that fight to go to round 4, 5, and 6, and Keith Thurman is able to start to get his groove, that shit could end up bad for Tszyu. Because Keith Thurman can crack. But at the same time, if Keith is allowing Tszyu to apply the pressure and keep Thurman on the back foot, then Tszyu, at some point in time, I think he catches up to Keith Thurman and he stops him. Anyway, real good fight. I just don't know where either one of them go after each other, because there are some killers in that upper echelon at 154 pounds. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.